inshallah. Okay, so Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Anbiya'i wal Mursaleen, Allahumma allimna ma yanfa'una wa anfa'na bima tu'allimuna wa zidna bi fadlika ilman wa ta'liman innaka ala kulli shay'in qadir. So, O believers, fasting has been made obligatory for you, prescribed for you, as it was for those before you, so perhaps, or that haply, you could translate it, that haply, in order to. So perhaps you will have taqwa of Allah, start to learn how to fear Allah, right? So it's a training. The point of fasting is a training system, right? We're training ourselves. Fast just a few days, not long. Right? Ayyam al-ma'dudat, it means a few days. It's not long. It starts and then it ends. Like it's not a long thing. So the shaitan makes us think that things are very difficult. Like praying on time is very hard. Speaking the truth is very hard, right? Hijab is very hard. It's like not really, right? A lot of things in life is like you start and then you end and that's it. It wasn't you just had to hold on for a bit and then it kind of went away. It's not the end of the world. So fast just for a few days. But whoever of you is ill or on a journey, then let him fast an equal number of days after Ramadan. Right? Do qada. Excuse me. So, important concept. It says, but whoever of you is ill. So, principle in the Sharia, ad-daruratu tubih al-mahdhurat. Right? Duress, life or death situations changes the haram into halal. It is haram for you to eat. You're Ramadan. Yeah, but I'm really, really sick. I'm actually going to die if I don't take this medication. I'm going to die if I don't drink. I'm going to lose my eyesight. I'm going to get extremely sick if I do this. So it's a life or death situation. The life or death situations will make the haram halal. Or on a journey. What, you're going to die if you fast on a journey? Like, so the Sharia doesn't only change for darurat, for issues of duress, of extreme hardship. It also changes for widespread difficulty. Widespread difficulty. What you'll have is situations where this is not pressing on you, but it's sufficiently pressing on enough people on a widespread level that the Sharia will say, yes, this will change. So here, the Sharia changes from halal to haram, or haram to halal. You can't eat, but you can eat now. Even though it's not duress, but it's just generally difficult and difficult for enough people on a widespread level, right? And we see this time and time again in the Sharia, right? Time again in Sharia, where there's a difficulty. It is sufficiently difficult and sufficiently widespread and sufficiently normal, right? It's not particular to you, right? Fasting on a journey is genuinely difficult throughout the whole world, throughout all time and place, sufficient enough that it allows people to join to break their fast for um a difficulty. You know, for example, they mention things like this in Islamic finance. Ijara, renting, right? When you rent a house, right, you are essentially you're paying for something that doesn't even exist. Like the use of a house tomorrow is not even there. So in principle, like you've paid for something that doesn't even exist, which is in principle haram. You can't do that. The Sharia tells us not to buy things that don't exist. Right? You can't do that. There's a gharar in it. There's a lack of clarity of like whether that thing's even going to exist or not. Maybe the house won't exist tomorrow. Right? So how are you paying for something? Or maybe you're going to rent something you don't even benefit from it. So what's the point? But the fuqaha, they tell us like why would Allah allow us to rent something? Say, well, otherwise, you're expecting every single person on the face of the earth to own every single thing that they need, right? On an individual level, that might not be too difficult. Okay, I got to buy this. But if you asked everybody to buy things, to own everything that they need, that would be impossible. That would be impossible. And so the Sharia says, yeah, you can engage in a financial transaction, even though it's not 100% clear, because it's clear enough. It's clear enough, and there's enough pressing need, right? Is medical insurance in Canada and North America, right? If you don't have medical insurance, what's going to happen to you? So are you going to die today? No, I'm not going to die today. But enough people right? It's a widespread thing that in North America and Canada, if you don't have health insurance, you're in a big mess. You're in a very big mess. And so even though conventional insurance by default is a vague contract that is by default haram because it's not a clear contract that the Sharia recognizes, but because you're in a particular situation, right? That and it's widespread enough. Even though you don't need the medical attention right now, it's hard enough on a widespread level as things are right now in North America and Canada that it's okay. As opposed to in England, it's not really. I mean, you could get medical insurance, right? I mean, maybe you get dental insurance, but it's not that important. It's not such a big deal, right? Filth on your body, for example, while praying. Can you pray with filth on your body? No. Okay, well, what if you go to the bathroom and only wipe and don't wash? Wouldn't that mean that you have some filth in it? So yeah. So some filth in a particular place is fairly normal for people throughout the world. So therefore, and it's sufficiently difficult on a widespread level to ask everybody to use water on a regular basis every single day. So therefore, the Sharia said, yeah, a small amount of filth in a particular place where it's normal going to get there, and it's hard enough to ask people to do this on a regular basis. This it's going to be overlooked. So now, what is haram, praying with filth on you, is halal, right? Even though it's not an issue of duress, you're not going to die, right? You're not going to die. Shortening or joining prayers for a journey, same kind of thing, right? Um, Looking at a prospective spouse, right? You can't go and look at some woman or some man that is not your wife. Can't do that. That's haram. Okay, well, why did the Prophet ﷺ allow us then that when you prospective bride or prospective husband that you can look at them, right? You could look at them and say, oh, do you like the way they look or not? Like that's not halal. You can't do that. You can't just walk in the street and say, oh, do you like the way that, do you find that man handsome or do you find that woman good looking? That's haram. You can't do that. So why has the haram become halal? Right? Are you going to die if you don't look at the woman before you marry her? Are you going to die if you don't look at the man before you marry her? No, you're not going to die. But it is sufficiently difficult, right? It is sufficiently difficult on a widespread level to ask people to marry people whom they've never seen before, right? That it's sufficiently difficult that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed it. Even though in principle, you could meet this woman and say, oh, she's nice, but I don't want to marry her. Oh, he's handsome, but I don't want to marry. And you kind of engaged in the haram if you think about it. You kind of like looked at this man with lust, basically, or looked at this woman with lust. You're like, oh, she's quite nice, but then I should want to marry her. So the haram happened, but there's a need for it because it would be very difficult to ask everybody on the face of the earth to get married without even looking at somebody. Right? So there's countless scenarios like this where duress make something halal, of course, that's obvious. Life or death scenario, obvious. But it's not just duress. There's also things that are widespread, recurrent, not just one-offs, right? There's scenarios that are one-offs, like you're gonna have to deal with that. I know it's difficult, but you're gonna have to deal with it, right? But this is widespread and it applies to many people, and it's now just become a general thing, and so it's overlooked. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah, so the question, James asked the question, your discussion of verse are the delineations between duress and sufficient. So duress is clear. What does it mean? Duress means I would die. I would lose a limb. I would lose a faculty. I wouldn't be able to see anymore. I would go insane. Like literally, I will go insane if I do this. It's not if, it's like I will go insane. I will lose money, right? Like my house will be broken into. It's not that it may, right? But it's like that's going to happen. So we're talking about the five universal goals of the Sharia, which is life, wealth, sanity, religion, and ird. Ird is a bit of a complex word, which means sexual decency or sexual not decency, sexual dignity, your sexual dignity and lineage. It includes the two of them, right? So when this happens, we will not know whose child this is, right? So, for example, we're going to see later on, polygyny is halal. Poly, what's the word? Uh, uh, Polyandry is not halal, right? You can have more than one wife, you can't have more than one husband. Okay, well, why is that the case? So, well, I mean, if you had more than one wife, you would know who's the father and who's the mother, correct? Okay, if you had more than one husband, would you know who the father and the mother is? No, you wouldn't. Oh, okay. So that's called, the right of to know about lineage. Lineage is very important. And you're right not to be sexually abused, right? Or that for your family not to be sexually abused, right? You have a so some of it's to do with lineage. Some of it's not to do with lineage. For example, it's a right of a man not to be sexually molested by another man. That has nothing to do with lineage. So that's called ird, right? It's called ird. So they call it. It's a kind of. So we have those five things. So anything that does or most likely, jeopardizes those things, that's considered a darura. Okay. So the distinction between duress and what we call haja or mashaqqa, difficulty or need, is clear. The problem is between right. There's a haja, there's a difficulty, and then there's other things that's less than that, right? So obviously, fasting, for example, is difficult. If every difficulty, right? If every difficulty would make the haram halal, then surely the difficulty of fasting itself would make fasting an option, right? Is everyone following me? Like if we say difficulty, any difficulty at all, as long if it's difficult, right, then you're no longer obliged to do it. So if that were the case, and it applied to every single difficulty, possible and impossible, then it would mean that you don't have to fast Ramadan because it's difficult. And we all experience hunger, and we all experience thirst, and we all experience some level of not feeling 100%. So therefore, we're not obliged to fast Ramadan, which would not make any sense whatsoever. The inconvenience of prayer would therefore also alleviate us of the onus of praying on time, which would make any sense, right? The inconvenience of me having to pay for my wife's financial support, I find that inconvenient. I don't want to pay for it, so I shouldn't have to do it. That doesn't make any sense, does it? So where is the tricky line, James? The tricky line is not between duress and difficulty, what we call mashaqqa or haja, is actually between what kind of haja will change the sharia and which one will not, right? That's a question in usul, and it's also a question in fiqh. When we study fiqh, you will see it again and again and again. There are certain clear scenarios in the sharia, in the Quran and hadith. With the fuqaha, will give you examples like, yeah, this is just negligible, this is not negligible, and there will be debate, right? There will be debate, right? I'll give you an example of a debate. Two examples. Um, Three examples. One is washing inside your beard, right? Allah tells us, as we'll see later on, that you have to wash your face. It does not say wash your beard, right? You have to wash your face in wudu. Okay, so is it normal for men to have beards? Yes. Is it normal for men to have thick beards? Yes. Is it normal for men to find it difficult to wash inside their thick beards 5 times a day when they pray? Yes. So some scholars, they say, yeah, you're excused. If you have a thick beard, you're excused. You don't have to wash inside your beard. You don't have to get to the skin because that's difficult, right? That's a difficulty. It's hard to ask people to do that on a regular basis. So it should be overlooked. Other scholars say, no, it's not overlooked. It's not overlooked. So, you know, that's just the difficulty that you're supposed to, just put some effort in. That's all, right? So it's an issue of debate. Is it sufficient to be overlooked or is it not? Praying, standing. I have a back problem and it really hurts me when I stand up. So I say, I mean, is it going to damage your back? Say no. Oh, okay. So what's the issue? Well, it's just the pain, really. Okay. So some scholars will say, if it's not excruciating pain, like if you're not screaming, like you're gonna have to do it. I'm sorry. Because pain itself, you're gonna have to deal with it, right? Others, others would say, no, the point of prayer is focus. right? So they say the point of prayer is focus. So if it's painful enough for you not to be able to focus, right? If it's painful enough for you not to be able to focus, there you now you're excused. So can you see here? There's a debate, right? Is it strong enough to allow you to sit down, or is it something you just have to deal with? It's an issue of debate. Another example, the hijab, right? Is it sufficiently difficult for a woman to wear hijab and cover up to her chin bone, uh, such that she's allowed to actually have expose some of the skin underneath her chin bone because it's hard, or or is that just, she has to just put up more effort? So most scholars will say no, she has to put more effort. Just make sure the hijab covers up to the chin bone because, you know, that's your face. Your face is that's the area that you can expose, which is your face, and your face ends at your chin bone. So you have to put the hijab up to your chin bone. That's where it has to go. Others say, yeah, but it's very difficult to keep the hijab, you know, if you cover it from your head down, it's going to come, some of the area underneath your chin bone will be exposed. So that's a bit difficult, isn't it? So some scholars say it's excused. Some scholars say it's not excused. Um, Another example, mm, par like partnerships, okay, in business, right? So a man and I, for example, we're going to go into business, okay? He's going to do the social media, and I'm going to do the Arabic, right? So I'm going to do an Arabic course, okay? And we're going to have registration, and he's going to be advertising this class for the next 2 months, and we agree on a kind of scope of what he's doing, and he's going to get 20% of the sign up for this Arabic class, okay? Some scholars say this is sufficiently vague, okay, and that is haram. And the fact that there's a need, like I don't have the cash to hire a man, he doesn't have the cash to hire me. And the fact that we kind of need each other in that way, that's not enough, right? You just can't do it. It's haram. It's a vague contract. I don't really know how much work really going to do. He doesn't know how hard I'm going to try. Um, the people who, like it's not really clear enough. So that's haram, right? It's a vague contract, and so you can't do that, right? And the fact that I have a need and he has a need, that's not enough, right? Some scholars say that, like that's not a halal contract. You can't do it. It's too vague. So either I hire him or he hires me, and that's it. That's what you can do. You can't do it. You can't do a percentage like that. Most scholars they say no, this is a thing in the world, right? People need this, right? You know, I'll find the customers, you do this. I'll do the admin and you do this, right? I'll do this, you do that, you do another part of it. We've got to team up in our company, in our whatever, because people don't have cash. We're not, oligarchies with cash. We can't do that. And so this is a general need throughout the world, and so it's okay. This kind of contract where I do one part of the work, you do one part of it, we split the profit in a particular fixed way. It's okay. It's vague enough. It's not too vague, and there's enough need, right? And so can you see that? Does that make sense, James? So like a lot of these things are kind of so the question is not between duress and need, but sufficiently difficult need or insufficiently difficult need. That's the question. And there will be debate, just by nature. There will be debate. Okay. But there are certain scenarios where it's clearly like negligible. For example, joining prayers because it's winter, right? So like today it is colder than it was 6 months ago. So well, every single day of the year it's either colder or hotter, right? So that's negligible, obviously. So what interesting is like it's extremely cold, and going to the mosque would be very difficult, or sufficiently difficult for the whole, cold, rain, snow, something like sufficiently difficult so that it'd be hard for people to go to the mosque, or ridiculously hard, right? But there are certain things we see today where that's a bit of a joke, right? Like obviously, when you say it's hard praying for Dhuhr and Asr in Saudi Arabia, right? Because it's very hot. But the Prophet didn't join Dhuhr and Asr every day, did he? So we can see, for example, there are many scenarios where there's a difficulty, and the Prophet ﷺ didn't say anything, didn't change the Sharia. Prophet ﷺ was sick. He didn't join prayers when he was sick, right? The Prophet ﷺ, they complained to the Prophet ﷺ, Ya Rasulullah, when we do sujood on the ground, it hurts our face like it hurts, right? The Prophet ﷺ didn't say anything. So just deal with it, right? So it's not true to say that every difficulty will change the Sharia. So now we need to balance exactly how far is what is significant and what is not significant. So it says, but whoever of you is ill or on journey, then let him fast an equal number of days after Ramadan, i.e. qada, make up the days later on. For those who can only fast with extreme difficulty, here we have a difference of agreement on this ayah. Okay? Ibn Abi Mulaika, one of the Salaf, he said originally they had an option, right? They had an option. They could either fast, right? Or they could give charity. And this is very important for us understanding Ramadan, right? They had an option either give charity 30 days or fast for 30 days. So whoever of them can only fast, وَالَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ. يُطِيقُونَهُ, that means they're able to do it, right? So he's translated it as extreme difficulty. You could also translate it as for those who are able to fast, all right? But choose not to. Compensation may be made by feeding a needy person for each day, right? But whoever volunteers to give more, right? And then it mentions, um, whoever volunteers to give more. I don't think that's the verse, is it? 1 second. تطوع خيرا. وما تطوع خيرا فهو خير له وأن تصوموا خير لكم. Where is it? Oh, sorry. That's why I was like, why? I was confused. Well, fasting is better for you if only you knew. So Ibn Abi Mulaika, he said originally they had an option. When the command first came, the Sahaba had an option. They could fast if they liked, or they could give charity for 30 days if they liked. Right? وَأَن تَصُومُوا خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. Right? And then this verse was revealed. وَأَن تَصُومُوا خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ إِن كُنتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. And fasting is better for you if only you knew. And that abrogated, right? Abrogation, we mentioned this last week. Concept of there's a verse, but then it doesn't apply anymore. So according to him, this was those who are able to fast but don't want to, they can just fast, they give charity instead. So they have an option, A or B. That was originally the case, and then that was annulled. After that, it's okay, you're now used to fasting, that's it, end of story. وَأَن تَصُومُوا خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ إِن كُنتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. And then it's better to fast. That was abrogated. According to Ibn Abbas, no, that's not what it means. Ibn Abbas, he said, in this translation here, he says, الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ, i.e., they fast, but it's extremely difficult. They could fast in principle. I mean, I could fast, but I might die. I could fast, but my insulin level is just going to go out. I don't know, it's going to go crazy. I might pass out. I won't be able to, it'd be very dangerous for me. Or I could only do it in a kind of comatose state, right? So you could do it, but it would be extremely difficult because I'm sick, because I'm elderly, etc. Compensation can be made by fear. So the either it's abrogated, right? As Ibn Abi Mulaika said, or as Ibn Abbas said, no, it doesn't mean that. It means those people who can fast, but it's extremely difficult because you're sick, because you're elderly, because whatever it is, you have a chronic illness. So we have two scenarios: temporary illness, chronic illness. I can fast, but just not right now. And that is the issue of, sister, who was it? Uh, uh, so Aman asked a question. Um, Maybe this is better for a fit discussion, but what is pregnancy? Yeah, so pregnancy, for example, is temporary, right? It's like being ill. So I'm pregnant, and it's too difficult to fast right now because I fear harm for myself or harm for the baby, etc. It's not just illness. Not just that I'm ill, but sufficiently ill. And not just that I'm pregnant, but sufficiently pregnant. Like it's really difficult. My first trimester, my last trimester, is super hard. It's really, really difficult. The doctors taught warned me definitely don't fast. This is, the whatever it is. A reliable Muslim doctor has told me this, for example, because otherwise doctors will always tell you not to fast, right? Um, they say, so it's temporary though. So for the pregnant woman, what does she do? She fasts later on, right? Even years later on, fine, but you have to fast at some point, right? You were sick, you got to make it up. You're pregnant, you got to make it up. As opposed for those who are extreme difficulty, I'm chronically ill. I have a situation. I have to take I have to take these medication on a daily basis through the mouth, for example. Whatever type of diabetes I have, it's just not possible to fast, period. Like I cannot fast, period. It's not possible. I am sick, whatever, I'm too old. Then this person shifts to another obligation, which is charity, right? Every single day they give charity instead. So we have, I don't know, we have a doctor here anyway, so maybe we can answer. So not all diabetes are the same, right? So, but the point is a chronic illness. This person, so this is a classic thing. Sheikh, I have never fasted my whole life. I wasn't religious and I started fasting. What do you have to do? What's the response? They're like, how much do I have to pay? What response do we give them? Just gonna make it up. Yeah, but it's like that's like 20 years of fasting. That's 600 days. What are you talking about? I said, I'm sorry. What do you want me to do? Like you didn't fast. Allah's giving you a chance, right? Obviously, you don't have to fast in one go, right? But you have to make up these fasts. That's it. You didn't pray for 20 years, you got to pray. You didn't fast for 20 years, you got to fast. That's it. What do you want to do, right? So, as opposed to somebody who is now chronically ill, I am chronically ill. I cannot fast. Okay, now this shifts to something else. But the point is, there's no other and there's no excuse. You are able to do it, so then you have to do it. Right? Alhamdulillah, you're able to do it. Okay. Ramadan is a month in which the Quran. Okay. Just please just give me 1 second, please. I need to quickly just turn to my kids. Okay, and so it says Ramadan is the month in which the Quran is revealed. What does that mean? Different opinions. One opinion is that the Quran was revealed, I began to be revealed. The other opinion is no, is that the Quran was downloaded, so to speak, um, from a Lawh al-Mahfuz, from the preserved tablet, to this world. So these are things we don't really understand. But the Quran has formats, so to speak. So the real Quran, the actual Quran, is part of Allah's beginninglessly eternal speech. It is part of His attributes. It's not something created. However, the format that we interact with, of course, is something that's created. We interact with words and sounds and letters, right? So this format, if that's the kind of, again, for want of a better word, this thing was downloaded, so to speak, into a sama dunya, the lower heaven, and from there to the Prophet ﷺ over the period of prophethood and revelation. And so, opinion one, it began to be revealed. Opinion two, no, it was revealed. There was this amazing thing that happened that we don't understand, and we can't really understand, is that from the Lawh al-Mahfuz, from the preserved tablet, right? Bal huwa Quran Majid fi Lawh Mahfuz. But rather it is a tremendous recital in a preserved tablet. That it was taken from the preserved tablet to the lower heaven, and from the lower heaven to the Prophet ﷺ over time thereafter. It was revealed as a guide for humanity with clear proofs of guidance and a standard to distinguish between right and wrong. So whoever is present in this month, let him fast. But whoever is ill, or on a journey, then let him fast an equal number of days after Ramadan. Allah intends ease for you, not hardship, so that he may complete the prescribed period. So the difficulty that Allah asks us to go through in life is like the difficulty of picking up a spoon when eating an ice cream sundae, right? Allah says, come into this room, sit at this counter, here, have a spoon, eat this ice cream sundae. And we look at it, it's like, oh my God, it's so hard to go into the room. And it's so difficult to pick up the spoon. And I have to pick up the chair. And like, you're like, subhanAllah, just eat the ice cream. And I'll be like, oh, that's what it's like. So in comparison, the difficulty is negligible, right? The difficulty of the martyr crawling through smoke and dust and pain and the reward he gets is like that. The analogy of picking up, eating, the difficulty of picking up a spoon and putting it in your mouth versus the bliss of the food that you eat. That's the analogy. So Allah is not asking, He's not trying to make things difficult for us. It's just you need to do certain things in order to get certain things. That's how it works. So that He may complete the prescribed period and proclaim the greatness of Allah for guiding you. And perhaps that you may become grateful, right? Obviously, you become grateful. When my servants ask you, O Prophet, know that I am near, right? I respond to one's prayer when they call upon us. So as we know, the Prophet told us that when you make dua, your dua is always answered, but in one of three ways. Does anybody know them? One of three ways? Number one is answered as you asked. Yeah, Allah, give me a Ferrari. Allah gives you a Ferrari, right? Saved as a reward. That's number two. And number three, something better. For example, you're protected from a difficulty or something, exactly, something better or determined harm. Excellent, right? So Allah always answers. So the Sahaba said, Ya Rasulullah, in that case, we're going to make dua all the time. He said, yeah, you better make dua all the time. So we should always be making dua. There is no time in our conscious life that we should not be talking to Allah. Zero time, no time, right? Ma'ruf al-Karhi, he said, for 40 years, I've been talking to people, and people think I'm talking to them, but I'm not even talking to them. I'm talking to Allah. So he talks to his kids, when he tells his kids off, when he talks to his wife, when he talks to his, when he's buying something, he says, how much is this? He's really asking the question, oh Allah, how can I worship you in buying something? Oh Allah, how can I worship you in comforting my crying child? Oh Allah, how can I worship you in saying something nice to my wife? Oh Allah, how can I? He's actually talking to Allah the whole time. So there is no time in our conscious life that don't, we shouldn't be talking to Allah. We should be talking to Allah the whole time, every single moment of our day. Doesn't matter what it is, in the bathroom, while taking the trash out, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. Right? I respond to one's prayer when they call upon me. I'm there, I'm answering. So let them respond to me and let them believe in me that perhaps they will be guided. So Allah is always ready, but we're not. It has been made permissible for you to be intimate with your wives during the nights preceding the fast. So again, difficulty. Your spouses are a garment for you and you for them. Right? A garment, what does it mean? So I'm wearing a garment right now. This is next to my skin. It is protecting me from the heat and the cold. I am vulnerable to it. Right? It is intimate. It is very close to me. Right? So you are a garment for them. They are a garment for you. They protect you from the haram, and you protect them from the haram. So this is very important. Many people are in non-functioning marriages, right? And there's an adult class. I don't mean a sexless marriage, because you could have a functioning sexless marriage as possible. But I'm saying is many people, they are in a non-functioning marriage, and they say for the sake of the kids or for the sake of the family or for the sake of whatever, they stay in that relationship. That's wrong. So rather You say, for the sake of the kids, you have to make the relationship work. For the sake of the two of you, you have to make the relationship work because you are a garment for her and she's a garment for you. She will protect you and you will protect her. But if there is no emotional functioning process, and normally there's no physical things, depending on their age, depending on their need, depending on these different things, then they're not a garment for each other. In fact, you're a fitna for each other because this is not a functioning relationship. And so then there is actual khiyana, there is actual cheating on each other, or emotional, right? You can't imagine somebody to have a non-functioning marriage and they don't think about anybody else. That's not realistic. So it is a necessity that people be married, and is a necessity that they make it work or move on. Like it's not acceptable you live in a non-functioning marriage. Non-functioning marriage doesn't mean, oh, we don't have arguments, right? As one sheikh said, he said, anybody who says they don't have marriage problems is a liar, right? So you say, oh, I never have any arguments with my wife. Like, what are you talking about? My husband and I never argue ever. Like, I don't believe you. You're a human being. The Prophet was a human being. He had arguments with his wives. But it's how you navigate arguments. How do things happen? And so you are protecting her, she's protecting you. You have physical and emotional needs. She has physical and emotional needs. These things need to be fulfilled, right? وَخُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. As we're going to see later on, man has been created weak. You are weak. Why do they use advertisers like they do? Because you're weak. You will look at things like that and you'll be tempted by things like that and you want to buy things like that, right? You've been created in a certain way. People have emotional affairs and people have physical affairs. These are real things. Why does Allah talk about these things? So you are a protection, right, for each other. And so this is very important. Somebody gets, for example, they're married and they're like, oh, we're too busy for things like that. What do you mean you're too busy for things like that? This is the whole point. Nikah in Arabic means intercourse. That's what it means. Nikah in Arabic means intercourse. So, like, what do you mean you're too busy for things like that? There's nobody else that you can do that with. So this is very important. What's more important, being available physically and emotionally for your spouse, or tarawih, or doing a khatam, or doing i'tikaf, or doing this or doing that. Fine, mashallah, you're both in the i'tikaf, that's fantastic. But not at the cost of the other person, right? People have different needs in different ways. Oh, you're so messed up. All you think about is that. That's a human, a sister or brother. You don't understand mankind, right? Look at the story of Zuleika and Sayyidina Yusuf. It's reality, right? It's a reality. Women have needs, men have needs. Wake up, right? This is reality, and so these things should be happening. One of the ways to fast properly is to have a functioning marriage where these things happen. So that in the next day, you're not thinking about the woman walks past, you're not thinking about anything. Man walks past, not thinking about anything. Whereas it's a normal, natural human thing that if you don't have something, you will look for that thing and you will find it in the wrong place. That is a normal, natural human thing. So the deen is real, the deen is natural, the deen deals with reality and says you're a normal functioning human. You have these hormones, you have these physical and emotional needs for certain things. If they are not met, things aren't balanced. Right? Things are not balanced. It doesn't work. So you are protecting them and they're protecting you. So make sure you do that and don't have a fake marriage for the sake of the kids, because the kids already know it's a fake marriage and they already see the tension and they already hate Islam because of it. And they don't want to be like you and they don't want to be like your wife, they don't want anybody. Right? May Allah protect us. But number one thing in Ramadan, forget Taraweeh, forget doing a khatam, fast, but do a real fast where there's ihsan, this nice relationship between husband and wife. And part of that nice relationship between husband and wife is these kind of things. Again, does it have to happen? Or does it have to happen like they do on TV or like so and so? Other people's standards don't apply to you. Don't compare yourself to other people. But it has to be as a teamwork. What do you need, husband or a wife? What do you need, husband? And it works out in a nice way, right? In that people feel that their needs are met to the best possible way. And there's mutual understanding and rahmah, as opposed to people saying, oh, but we have iftar. Don't do an iftar. If this is important, don't have iftar. Don't invite the whole of the people around that. Oh, but we have to because they invited us. It's not important. It's not important. The the family nucleus is more important than everything else. Everything else. More important than Taraweeh, more important than Khatam, more important than anything else. More important than work. It's okay. The family nucleus is everything. Get your family straight, you got everything straight. Lose your family, you have nothing. Okay. So Allah knows that you were deceiving yourselves, i.e., by having intercourse when it was originally haram for you. So He has now accepted your repentance and pardoned you. So you may be intimate with them and seek what Allah has prescribed for you, I have children. You may eat and drink until you see the light of dawn breaking on the darkness of the sky, i.e., so the first dawn, which right can vary. Right? Then complete the fast until the night. Do not be intimate with them, with your spouses, while you are meditating in the mosques, right? And by analogy, right, you can't be in the mosque in janaba, right? So you can't have intercourse in a mosque, right? Because intercourse results in being in major ritual impurity. So by analogy, you can't be in a mosque if you need to make ghusl. So therefore, a woman cannot be in a mosque when she is menstruating, and a woman cannot be in and a man or a woman cannot be in a mosque if they need to make ghusl, right? And we'll see later on, illa abiri sabil, unless you're just passing through, it's different, right? Just passing through a masjid is different as opposed to going and sitting down in a masjid. So a woman on her period, according to the former dhahib, cannot be inside a masjid, i.e. the masjid area. Some masjids they have like the bathroom area, the school area, or whatever it is, canteen area. But excuse me, what it means is the masjid itself. The part of the mosque that is an endowment is a waqf for worship. Cannot be in that area. Right? So this is by analogy. Aisha radiallahu anha, she made the point that she could touch the Prophet's hair while she couldn't do i'tikaf. Right? So she couldn't be in the masjid in i'tikaf because she was on a period. Right? So you can't. So these are there's a weak hadith or a partially Hasan hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said, I do not allow the mosque for somebody in janaba or in a period. So that's a weak hadith or it's a Hasan hadith, borderline. But the analogy is there. That's why the former there hold this opinion. The analogy is there. Like, well, obviously, you can't. The whole point of not having intercourse in the masjid is because you can't be in the masjid if you need to make ghusl. These are the limits set by Allah, so do not exceed them. This is how Allah makes His revelations clear to people, so they may become mindful of them. Now, Ibn Mundhir, not Ibn Mundhir, sorry, um, uh, Imam al-Muzani, Imam al-Muzani, the student of Imam Shafi'i, and Ibn Hazm al-Zahiri, the literalist from Spain, they said you can be in a masjid, it's fine. In it's totally fine. Non-Muslims go into a masjid. Obviously, she might want to be her period. A non-Muslim goes into the masjid, it might be in janaba, of course, right? So they said, Imam Muzni says, well, what's the difference between a kafir and a Muslim, right? But that's a very minority opinion, right? The opinion exists, fine. Should we follow that? No. Why follow the position of two and go against the position of thousands? It's not a clever thing to do. That's not taqwa. That's not logic. Allahu a'lam. Okay, and do not consume one another's wealth unjustly, nor deliberately bribe authorities in order to devour a portion of others' property, knowing that it's sin. So here, وَلَا تَأْكُلُوا أَمْوَالَكُمْ بَيْنَكُمْ بِالْبَاطِلِ. This includes cryptocurrency, right? So the default, and I'm not giving fatwa, the default on cryptocurrency, and in fact fiat currency, right? The dollar, if you want to go to an extreme, the default is that you are buying something for nothing, right? This guy picks me up at my house and drops me off at the airport, and I give him a number. In principle, it is nothing. And cryptocurrency as well. When do these things become something? When there is um, when there's rawaj meaning there's literally currency, right? So the dollar becomes wealth when people in America all accept the dollar, and it's accepted worldwide and it's a legally established thing, right? So cryptocurrency, where's the problem? Is to what extent is it the same as a fiat currency like dollar, like the pound, like the euro, etc.? If it is something just accepted by a few people, that does not have rawaj, does not have currency, it's not doesn't flow throughout the world as wealth would. And so when it's just crypto and it's just something that is between a few group of people, right? The default is it is ولا تأكلوا أموالكم بينكم بالباطل. You just bought something for nothing, right? You gave me a car and I gave you Doge, for example. What is this? That's actually essentially nothing. It's nothing that so could you buy and sell in monopoly money? No, it'd be haram because it's not doesn't have any but it doesn't have any it's not worth anything, right? Could you sell something for like could I sell the dust on my computer? No, it's not anything. That's not doesn't have any value, right? So it has to have widespread value, not unique value among a group of people who agree on a system, right? So again, not giving fatwa, and you can refer to the various fuqaha and the debates on those issues, but that's the discussion here. Does it have rawaj? Is it widespread and accepted like a dollar, or is it something that is just among a few group of people? So the default, until it's widespread and accepted legally, like perhaps Bitcoin, right? Then it's considered something that is a non currency. Okay, and then let's just finish here. Mm. They ask you, a prophet, okay, we'll come to this inshallah later next week, inshallah. Okay, وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم سبحان الله وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك